Matt Reacts to Wrestling. I'm Matt and I'll be reacting to Raw, SmackDown and NXT. So welcome to episode 3. As I mentioned before, it's going to be a shorter show than last time. Just going to dive straight into Raw. Raw this week kicks off with Roman for the second week in a row. Lots of chants for "We want Strowman." Roman's playing up to the crowd really nicely here as well. And the crowd are just kind of giving him loads of chip. And he's like, hang on a minute, you might like this, just listen to me. Recaps how he got put in the coquina clutch by Joe after Strowman's distraction. And that gets a big reaction from the crowd. He's like, see, I told you you'd like it. So Strowman coming out here to a huge reaction from the crowd, using the heel tactics by jumping Roman from behind. Beats on Roman. Roman gets a few licks back in, but then Strowman just throwing Reigns into the side of the ambulance, throwing him into the back. Obviously it's not going to be that easy at the pay-per-view, but we'll see how that goes. First match of the night, Finn and the Hardys versus Samson and Cesaro. All three members of the heel team are under Samson's spotlight. All three of them are mic'd up. And then there's immediately an interruption from the Hardy Boys music and a big pop from the crowd. But I was disappointed with that. I actually really thought they were going to do a song of some kind. So I really like these three as a team. The face team go over with Finn finishing with the coup de grace at the end of the match. But yeah, a really good match actually, I thought. So Goldust is on next to hype up the Shattered Truth, which turns out to be the next segment. And this was just short, just a nothing thing. This is obviously going to be leading to something else. Goldust just comes out with his old school gear that looks really cool, and also his own personal cameraman, or his own personal film operator, as Corey Graves calls the guy. And Truth comes out, and just straight away Goldie using the cameraman to protect him, and just gets a cheap shot on Truth, and then just does nothing with it really. It wasn't a brutal attack, it wasn't a vicious attack. He kind of pulls him against the post once, you know, a little bit of an attack on the arm, gets onto the post, and just a bit of a nothing segment really. Definitely anticlimactic, but they're going to be going somewhere else, I'm sure, with that. Next we've got Paul Heyman backstage, being interviewed, saying how Brock is here tonight, hyping him up a little bit before Joe comes in, and just goes to put the coquina onto Heyman, just saying that coquina is not meant for Paul, it is meant for Brock. So just getting us really excited for later on in the night. So Miz TV next with the Ball family, who I have no idea about, being an English person, as you can hear, and not being interested in basketball. The crowd were booing quite a lot. You know, these are wrestling fans. They don't really want to see, you know, other sports guys come in. It's very rare that any of these guys get a real thoroughly positive reaction from the crowd. But, you know, after a while they did warm to them a little bit, and especially that old guy, he was just an absolute nutcase. Ambrose comes out anyway. This is the point of this segment, talking about the great Balls of Fire pay-per-view, and how everyone always says that Ambrose has the biggest balls. So this leads into a match with Rhino, Slater and Dean Ambrose taking on Miz and his Miztourage. Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel being aligned now with Miz. The heels do pick up the win here. The ending has Bo Dallas and Rhino in the ring, and it just kind of really highlighted how much Bo Dallas has taken inspiration, shall we say, from Rhino's ring gear. Just Rhino fighting his younger clone, which was quite amusing. Next up we have a recap of Enzo and Cass from last week, and this was a fantastic segment. Starts with breaking down their whole history, lots of footage from their days in NXT, the interviews that they had on, I believe it was Breaking Ground. But yeah, just giving you the whole story of these guys coming up together, and recapping last week when Cass turned his back finally on Enzo. Enzo comes out to the ring and gives a really impassioned promo here. This whole thing has been built really well between these guys, the close, real life friends, and really helps to add a lot of weight to this storyline. So Enzo's in the ring, calls out Cass. They're having a very realistic sounding debate. Cass essentially saying, giving his apology to Enzo. The crowd weren't buying it. Cass saying, if you thought we were going to throw away this lifetime of friendship, there's only one word to describe you. Spells it out for you, goes down out of the ring, back up the ramp, and clotheslines Enzo Amore, kind of Rainmaker style clothesline as he's lifting up Enzo's arm. I won't lie, I had thought they'd swerved me for a small second there because these are a great team together, and this, like I say, was a very, very realistic sounding promo. And then a very interesting part afterwards where Corey Graves starts talking and Cass interrupts him, saying, Angle said, I can't lay a finger on you, you must have some good dirt on him, stay out of my business. So continuing that storyline, that bigger picture storyline with that's going on between Corey and Kurt. So that's very, very interesting going forward as well, how this storyline continues. So Seth Rollins is next in a very short match with Kurt Hawkins. Kurt Hawkins, for some reason, asking a crowd whether they think he's going to win or lose. I don't think I need to tell you the answer to that. No name for Seth Rollins finishing Rainmaker knee attack yet. I don't really know what to call it. Anyway, this is all just leading up to a promo between Seth and Bray Wyatt. Bray on the screen just speaking his usual cryptic stuff, but announcing his match with Seth Rollins on July 9th. Very interesting, I noted he did not say Great Balls of Fire. The only person so far who seems to have avoided having to call the pay-per-view by its ridiculous name is Bray Wyatt. We see Dana Brooke and Mickie James draw their numbers for the women's first ever gauntlet match for later in the night. Kurt Angle in the background looking concerned while sending a text message, so again they're really ramming home this Kurt Angle mystery storyline. After the break, Paul Heyman is in the ring to introduce Brock Lesnar, saying that this is the moment when the bathroom break is over and the moment we'll all be talking about tomorrow. Brock comes out and is promptly attacked from behind by Joe, who puts him into the Coquina clutch. Brock fighting it off, slamming Joe back into the LED board at the back, but eventually on the third attempt, Joe cinches it in, gets Brock down to one knee. Brock going purple in the face here before members of the WWE locker room come out to pull Joe away. They are keeping Joe super strong here. Again, amazing visual. Brock Lesnar with his purple face and white eyebrows, just really selling the hell out of this Coquina clutch. So very, very good segment there. We had a short cruiserweight match between Lince Dorado and Neville. Neville wins with the Rings of Saturn. Tozawa gets into the ring after having sat in the Titus Worldwide VIP area during the match. And just as he's squaring up to Neville, Titus comes out and announces the match. So that is definitely something to look forward to for Great Balls of Fire. Paul Heyman is reacting to the Beast being put in the Coquina clutch earlier in the night, just hyping up the match a little bit more, saying this will not be a quick fight for Brock, this will be a long all-night fight, really hinting at an excellent match in prospect, working in, goodness gracious, Great Balls of Fire into the promo as well. You gotta love Paul Heyman. Nia Jax is backstage and greeted by Alexa. Alexa just saying that she thinks they're more alike than Nia thinks. I like the chemistry between these two. Nia just not taking any nonsense from Alexa. They're both heels, but they're not, Nia's not interested in working with Alexa and says she will see her at the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. So our main event for the evening, the women's gauntlet match, the number one contendership for Alexa Bliss at GBOF. First out is Bayley drawing the short straw, and second Nia. These two have a pretty good back and forth for a short time. Nia wins after Bayley was working the leg with a Samoan drop. So as I feared after this, I'm still really worried about Bayley's future. And the story of the match really was Nia. Mickie James comes out third. A lot of this short match was Nia working a bear hug, Booker T making a point that she wasn't really using much energy here. But anyway, Nia does win again, literally just by running over Nikki. Fourth out we have Dana Brooke, who gets absolutely no offense in, tries to go for a cartwheel forearm attack in the corner. Nia just pushes her over, hits a big leg drop, got quite a good pop from the crowd for this leg drop actually, and Dana Brooke is eliminated. Next out, number 5 is Emma. Emma with some smart tactics here, just trying to distract Nia, just not getting in the ring immediately, trying to get Nia Jax off her feet that way, gets a couple of drop kicks in before being promptly destroyed with a Samoan drop. So Nia is running through everybody. I mean, in a way I don't have a problem with it, it builds her up strong, but it is really hurting the rest of the division. You know, you've got someone like Emma who just re-debuted a month or so ago, really sorely underutilized on the main roster, and just here being absolutely dominated by Nia Jax. You know, where I feel if this match was on SmackDown, she and all the other women would have been booked a little bit stronger, even in a loss against Nia Jax. And lastly, number 6, we had Sasha, and this was the bulk of the match. Sasha goes for a suicide dive on the outside, does her crazy knee drop, which always looks amazing. This was, at this point, by far the longest Nia Jax match that we'd had, and she did look good here. You know, there was a lot of back and forth between these two. A huge lariat hit by Nia at one point that looked really crazy. Nia just constantly dumping Sasha out of the ring, teasing the count out, but Sasha does eventually get back in towards the end of the match. Nia's just working a long bear hug into a deadlift suplex. She goes for the leg drop and misses. This allows Sasha to hit a Shining Wizard. Crowd really getting into this match quite nicely at this point. And then the finish comes from Sasha putting on a modified version of the bank statement, locks both of the arms behind and just gets Nia down to the canvas. Eventually Nia just passes out or taps out, you know, from exhaustion. Sasha, I think, is a great babyface in the way that these matches really suit her, because she looks like she can, you know, she's really under pressure, really getting ragged about by Nia, looking like she's almost dead outside the ring, and then just squeaking out the victory with the bank statement, which, you know, is always a strong looking finisher move. You know, any match that Nia has, it's kind of unrealistic for her to take a pin a lot of the time. So this is a good finish to a really good match. Kurt Angle comes out, raises Sasha's hand. Alexa comes out, and Sasha gives a really great looking drop kick. I'm surprised at this point she's got enough energy to hit a drop kick so smoothly, but she did. Finishes the show looking strong, and that's Raw for this week. SmackDown Live begins tonight with a promo to hype up Opportunity. Daniel Bryan comes down to the ring. It's a very hot crowd tonight, people chanting his name, everything that you would expect, and talks about you know, the matches that are coming up. Carmella comes out and fights her case. Basically, they just went over exactly what they said last week. It seems to be word for word. Carmella arguing her case about there being no DQ and other people helping in the past, like Kane and things like that. And Daniel Bryan just talking about the fact that no one has got involved to such a degree to literally take the Money in the Bank briefcase and hand it to someone else. So that's the reason for the rematch. Ellsworth takes the mic next, and this is where it got a little bit more interesting. Huge amount of heat for Ellsworth. He's amazing in this heel role, saying that he used to look up to him, but now he just sees him as this coward who hasn't got the grapefruits to get it done in the ring anymore, so he made up some injury, and Daniel Bryan's just squaring up to him. That was you always get this kind of sense of them teasing some kind of physical confrontation. I don't really expect it to happen, but you never know. It's nice to have that tease, and obviously just gets Ellsworth a massive amount of heat. Daniel Bryan says, I could just fire you, but I'm not going to ban you just from the ringside. Like I said I was going to tonight, I'm going to ban you from the entire arena. Ellsworth, pretty hilarious here, just trying to run away from the security. It does this little jump over the barrier, but he just jumps from way too far, ends up just landing square on the barrier. At another point, he's kind of clawing the ring, so they're trying to put over the fact that, you know, Carmella desperately needs him to win, and now he's not just not going to be at ringside, he's not going to be in the arena. Hype Bros versus Usos was next. Just a really short match. I actually thought they were going to do a lot more with this match. After a little bit of heat on the Hype Bros, Zack Ryder made his comeback, went for the broski boot, Jay got pulled out of the corner, and they just hit the splash, and that was it. 1, 2, 3. After that, New Day came out and just spoke about Battleground, the next SmackDown pay-per-view, and how they want a tag rematch, because obviously the Usos walked out of their last tag team match. It was Xavier here teased the famous Booker T line, "We're coming for you," and then Big E stopped him like, no, don't do that. Pretty funny. The Usos just sounded like really serious here. The New Day were joking about a little bit more. And Uso said, "This is no longer New Day. This is more Day One-ish." So good lines here, good bars, as the New Day was saying. We had a great Fashion Vice segment. Finally, the Ascension seemed to be just embracing the comedy side of their characters now, and it's actually working out for them. At least it's giving them something to do on TV, and they're basically being interrogated by Breezango. And it was not the Ascension that trashed the office at Money in the Bank. Tyler and Fandango go back to the office, find it trashed again. So we do have the mystery continuing. It appears it could be a new tag team or someone different. So a nice little swerve there. Another surprising match next, with Lana taking on Naomi for the Women's Championship. Lana comes out, gets all the heat on Naomi, attacking her before the bell. The crowd are into this match. Lana immediately starts stamping Naomi in the head, hits her finisher. Naomi kicks out, one big kick to the head of Lana, sets her up, hits a split-legged moonsault, and gets the cover. 1, 2, 3. So once again, Naomi is victorious. Just a complete squash, more or less, but done in such a clever way. You know, it doesn't really damage Lana too much. I don't think. She looks great after the match as well, just being really mad in the middle of the ring, and they can kind of play this off as her, you know, just being inexperienced. I would have been intrigued to see if they'd have worked a longer match, but I think this was the best way to do it. Aiden English is out. He's under the spotlight here for some reason. The reason being for Randy Orton to come out and interrupt. Now, I thought Randy would end up RKOing Aiden, and sure enough he did during the commercial break, and then we got a replay of it when they came back for the commercial break. So this is the kind of thing that just makes no sense to me, and that I really hate about WWE, with all these endless breaks and you missing a lot of the good action during the breaks. So anyway, Orton is out, he's in the ring, saying he's not going to leave the ring until he gets what he wants, which is a rematch for the WWE Championship. So just as he's about to leave the ring and go back to do some ass kicking, Shane stops him, says, you know, he understands where Randy is coming from. He's never seen this kind of look in Randy's eyes, so despite their past, he is going to grant the rematch, with the proviso being that Jinder will choose the stipulation. Jinder comes out and just runs down the crowd for chanting USA, and then he announces they will have at Battleground a Punjabi prison match. And I was thinking before he said it, are they going to go in this direction? Sure enough, it had me marking out and thought of this Punjabi prison match. It showed a quick video of what to expect here. A cell within a cell made of reinforced bamboo, and the only way to win is to escape the Punjabi prison. So this is a really exciting match in prospect. Got a big pop from the crowd. I'm definitely looking forward to this match at Battleground. Next, an announcement for an Independence Day Battle Royal next week, with Daniel Bryan telling that Kevin Owens, he has to put his title on the line, Battleground against the winner of the Battle Royal. AJ Styles out here, just playing total babyface now. Him and Daniel Bryan seem to have a really great little chemistry going on. AJ Styles has entered into that Battle Royal, and that is the return of John Cena next week. So I actually thought at first that they were going to go for Daniel Bryan putting an open challenge next week, and it being John Cena that comes out to challenge him. But yeah, that's cool. Next week, Battle Royal to determine number one contender for the US title at Battleground. Maria Kanellis and Mike Kanellis are out next. Maria introduces herself first, and then Mike introduces himself as her husband. So again, they're putting over the fact that he's a trophy husband. They didn't talk for long here before being interrupted by Sami Zayn. So I'm guessing there is some kind of feud going to come out of that. But they didn't get involved with Sami tonight. This was a match versus Baron Corbin. Corbin looking strong here. He does get the pinfall after a good back and forth match. I thought they might give it to Sami because sometimes they job out the Money in the Bank holders a little bit more, being that they're protected by the briefcase. But they're keeping Corbin looking strong here. So we'll see where he goes with Money in the Bank. Nakamura is backstage for a short interview. He said Baron Corbin is dangerous, but he is motivated by fear of what I can do to him. Maybe he should be afraid. It was just phrased a little bit strangely. He was saying he's motivated by fear, but he should be fearful of me, or something to that effect. It's not the greatest writing for him. I don't really know how they could write promos for him though. You know, he's such a unique character. But this isn't a bad look for him here. It's just a shame that they don't really give him better material to work with if they are going to give him these promos. It's main event time. The rematch for the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. This was, it's what the match at the pay-per-view should have been. When it started out, I wasn't as into it, but kind of, it did really pick up. Everyone got tons of spots in, teasing, obviously the climbing of the ladder. It's really interesting to see how much harder it is for the women to actually move these ladders around and set them up. So it does give it a bit of a different dynamic. One of the highlights of the match for me was Tamina killing everybody and then just being stuck under the ladder and pushing it off when two women were on it. But it ends as Ellsworth, despite being banned from the arena, finds his way in, attempts to climb the ladder, and this time Becky gets her revenge, pushing him off, crotching him on the top rope. So Ellsworth is out of the equation. Becky goes to climb, and Carmella comes from behind with a steel chair, nails Becky in her leg. Becky selling an injury, kicks her off, tries to climb again, but Carmella gets her off the ladder again. One more full chair hit to the back. Carmella climbs, unhooks the briefcase, and she is two-time Money in the Bank winner, and now the legitimate Miss Money in the Bank. Great finish to SmackDown this week, and I really feel like it was just the backlash that caused them to do this rematch. And if they'd have just gone with this finish at the pay-per-view, no one would have had any problem with it. This was essentially so close to the original finish, just with that visual of, you know, a woman taking down the Money in the Bank briefcase, which is all anyone ever asked for after they had set up that this was such a historic match. But it's done now. She is Miss Money in the Bank. That is SmackDown for the week. So a bit of news this week before I talk NXT. One of the big things that I found out after Raw, the Ball family segment was not just a harmless little crazy segment after all. Now, I didn't actually pick up on this, but one of the sons of the Ball family dropped the N-bomb twice as Dean Ambrose was coming out to the ring. It's been all over social media. On ESPN, the NBA subreddit is just blowing up because of this crazy kid who did say that word on live TV twice after, I think the last occurrence was Vince with his do-rag in the early 2000s. There's a rematch set for Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. Round 3 will occur at the G1 Finals on August 12th. There is New Japan shows coming up this weekend, coming up in Long Beach, with Cody Rhodes taking on Okada for the title. A lot of people speculating that Cody Rhodes is going to take the title. He is a member of the Bullet Club along with Kenny Omega, and that will set up their feud. And then obviously you can give Kenny the win at the G1 in their third match, as Okada has won the first two matches. So interesting stuff there. I will be watching the G1 shows over the weekend and probably have something about it on the show next week. And then finally, leading into NXT, the news that Jim Ross and Lita will call the Mae Young Classic, and another announcer back in the fold, Mauro Ranallo. I'm so happy about this. Love this guy. He was on SmackDown, now working NXT with a different kind of schedule, and able to do his outside work. He calls for Showtime Boxing. He's going to call the McGregor versus Mayweather fight. This guy has got all kinds of stuff going on now, and he deserves everything he's getting. So NXT starts this week. Nigel McGuinness opening the show and introducing Mauro Ranallo. And like I say, I was so happy to see him back. I didn't think he would go back to WWE, but it's good to see that they've just let this be water under the bridge, and he's back where he rightly should be, in this awesome environment of NXT, very different to the kind of pressure that he would have had on the main roster. So NXT starts this week with the Velveteen Dream. Patrick Clark, someone who was in Tough Enough, definitely my favourite contestant He seemed to be really the only guy that actually was into the business. He didn't just want to be a wrestler. He was so passionate about it. He was trying so hard to, get his character, just to learn everything that he possibly could about the business. And here he is. He's had a few gimmicks over the course of the time he has been on TV, and kind of tweaks this one, but it's starting to really get over with the crowd now. For me, it's a bit too similar to kind of Prince still, but the way he works it is so over the top, and the guy is pretty good in the ring for a developmental talent. He's got the facials down to an absolute T, makes you feel pretty disgusted, which is what it's supposed to be. His physique is really on point, and you can tell he's really working hard on his look. And like I say, he is starting to get over with the crowd. He's got some good ring psychology, he's got some good moves. Just a pretty simple match, really, where he was looking pretty dominant against a guy, Ho Ho Loon, from the Cruiserweight Classic, the guy that we love to hate. And the finishing move, the Velveteen Dream, a big elbow drop from the top rope. He was calling it the Purple Rainmaker, apparently getting some heat from New Japan about it, but then Moro did call it the Purple Rainmaker here. So not really sure what that situation is, but Velveteen Dream picking up the win, and I also love his theme music as well. He sings his theme music, which is always just taking that to another level. Next up, just an absolutely crazy match, crazy segment. Hideo Itami and Oni Lorcan in a rematch from a few weeks ago. So this match starts and Oni Lorcan comes out hot, just hitting Hideo with a huge running uppercut. And this actually busts Itami open so badly that they have to call off the match. There was parts where I thought this was a work, but this was just too much. This was so over the top. This clearly was not a work. Oni was obviously supposed to just come out on fire. He had been given 3 GTSs the last time these two met. So, but the match didn't even get a chance to start. The crowd are booing, but Hideo is bleeding heavily. They go to break, and I thought this match was over. At this point, it's either an angle. Oni has hurt him so much they've got to wait a few weeks to have another match, or not an angle, and this is so bad with NXT being pre-taped they can get away with just not doing the match. Hideo is too injured to work the match, but no, it wasn't either. Hideo comes back out with just 2 huge bits of cotton up his nose to stem the bleeding. Huge reaction from the crowd, and they continue this match. This was just hard hitting. This was absolutely insane. These guys absolutely nailing each other with everything. This is the kind of strong style that you want to see. This is as close as WWE really do get to New Japan. There's not many times it happens, but with guys like Hideo and Oni, two of the best kind of strikers that they've got. Guys like Aleister Black as well, and DIY, particularly Tommaso Ciampa, I always found was some of the hardest hitting guys in NXT. So this was that style of match. I love this type of match, just nothing held back. The finish coming with Hideo kicking Oni's leg out once again. The ref is saying he's going to stop the match. Oni says he can continue. Hideo takes full advantage of this, picking him up really quickly, 1 GTS this time, and gets the pin 1, 2, 3. After the match, Hideo gets on the mic and calls out Cassius Ohno, but nothing gets to happen before Nikki Cross approaches the ring. Out comes Sanity, taking exception to these two guys being in the ring, I guess, and just beating the living hell out of them. One thing that I've kind of wondered here is, is Hideo a heel? Has he gone back to babyface? It still seems to be like he's in a little bit of flux, but I'm not really complaining about that. And the fact that Sanity, the clear heel team, come out and attack these two guys here is what makes me think Hideo hasn't done a full turn. Alexander Wolf getting some time on the mic here, and just saying essentially that they've got a master plan, and it starts tonight with Nikki Cross taking the title in the upcoming Last Woman Standing match. Wolf sounds okay. I just really love his character, so I don't really mind if he doesn't say anything particularly profound or if he's really good on the mic. I just love his style. He also refers to Killian Dane is my undefeated friend. So, and kind of it seems like he's hinting towards Killian getting some kind of title match, or at least like moving up the card. Next up, the main event for the NXT Women's Championship, the first ever last woman standing match on NXT. This was a great match. I sound like I'm repeating myself, but that's because there are a lot of great matches on NXT. It is a bit of a strange stipulation, I think, the last person standing, because it does kind of involve just a lot of standing around and a lot of repeat 10 counts, but if built well, it's really good, and this match was built incredibly well. These two just nailing each other. Asuka with the first real big attack, getting the trash can, EC dub chants from the crowd, putting the trash can over Nikki Cross and just kicking the living shit out of her. It was just absolutely insane. Got a big laugh from me. And I just can't imagine what Nikki Cross was actually feeling inside that trash can. Not a nice spot to take. Nikki Cross is getting a whole bunch of chairs, twice in fact. Once in the ring with Asuka taking a suplex to the chairs, and Nikki taking like a back body drop to the chairs, and then outside the ring later on, Nikki Cross taking a power bomb to chairs on the outside. But the finish comes not from any of those things. The finish comes from Nikki Cross setting up a ladder, climbing, Asuka on the other side, and Asuka with the superplex through the announcer's table on the outside to finish off Nikki Cross, who can't reach the count of 10. Asuka barely does, and it's just such a great movement as well, because she stands up and then just stumbles back off of the stage. So she kind of finds her footing and then just drops down to the other level on 2 feet, and then just kind of keels over. I can't say enough really about this match and about what these two women have done, and pretty much all of the women on the NXT roster. When this division lost all those key women to the main roster, you know, there was a lot of worry from fans that no one was going to be able to get over. You know, you've got Asuka as an undefeated champion, and you've got all these new girls that people weren't sure about, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, and now we've got Nikki Cross and Ember Moon, who are just two really, really strong competitors for Asuka. I really do hope they are building to a title shot for the winner of the Mae Young Classic, or Asuka relinquishing her title undefeated, moving up to the main roster, although I cannot help but worry for Asuka on the main roster, just because what's happened to Bayley mixed with what's happening to Nakamura. But Asuka at the moment, you know, incredible champion, and Ember Moon, it will be her next competitor, I'm guessing at TakeOver. But for now, Asuka remaining champion and ending NXT for the week. Another good week of TV, I would say, this week. Thank you for listening to Matt Reacts to Wrestling. And next week there is, like I say, the New Japan shows to look forward to. The Go Home show for Great Balls of Fire on Raw. And just a fallout from this week on SmackDown, as well as the 400th episode of NXT with Bobby Roode defending his championship against Roderick Strong. Also next week, a few people have said they want to see video of pretty old me, so I will be doing Matt Predicts Wrestling. I'm going to predict the winners of Great Balls of Fire, and it will be a full video podcast, because there's going to be a lot less editing involved. It's going to be a little bit shorter, but that will be up as well at the end of next week, just before Great Balls of Fire. So I will hopefully see you next week, and if you did enjoy this, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. I'll see you next time.